Imagine your older brother is up millions of dollars and you're still stuck in the trenches. Let me break this down for you, fam. This is the real story about how NBA Youngboy left his own blood brother, Bway Youngie, in the trenches while he's out here taking care of everybody else. This ain't just some family drama. This is about loyalty, blood, and how success can change a person so much that they forget where they came from and who was there from day one. No cap, by the time I'm done telling you this story, you gon' understand why the streets are questioning Youngboy's loyalty to his own flesh and blood, understanding the brother bond. First, let me paint the picture for you, gang. Bway Youngie ain't just some random dude claiming to be Youngboy's brother. This is his real blood brother, same father, grew up in the same household, went through the same struggles in Baton Rouge. These two shorties came up together in one of the most dangerous cities in America, watching each other's backs when nobody else would. When Youngboy was coming up, before the fame and the millions, Bway was right there with him. They shared the same pain, the same trauma, the same dreams of making it out the hood. Bway looked up to his big brother, saw him as not just family, but as his way out of the poverty and violence that was consuming their neighborhood. But here's where it gets crazy. Now that Youngboy is worth millions, now that he's one of the biggest rappers in the game, his little brother is still stuck in the same trenches they both came from. While Youngboy is living in mansions and buying expensive cars, Bway is still in Baton Rouge catching cases and fighting for his life with a public defender. The psychology behind this is deep, fam. When you make it out of a situation like that, sometimes you develop this mentality where you think everyone should be able to do what you did. You forget that not everyone has the same talents, the same opportunities, or the same luck that got you out. And sometimes you get so focused on your new life that you leave the old one behind completely. Success and family dynamics. Let me break down what's really happening with Youngboy's mindset, because this type of situation happens more than people realize. When someone blows up from nothing, when they go from poverty to millions, it changes their perspective on everything, including family relationships. Youngboy probably looks at his success as something he earned through his own talent and hustle. In his mind, he might think, I made it out, so why can't Bway make it out too? But what he's not considering is that not everyone is built for the music industry. Not everyone has his natural talent, and not everyone gets the same breaks. There's also this psychological phenomenon where successful people start to distance themselves from reminders of their past. Bway represents everything Youngboy is trying to leave behind: the streets, the violence, the legal troubles, the constant danger. So instead of helping his brother escape that life, Youngboy might be subconsciously avoiding him to protect his own mental space. The crazy part is, Youngboy takes care of mad people in his circle. He's got friends on payroll. He's buying cars for his crew. He's making sure his people are straight. But his own blood brother is sitting in jail with a public defender, fighting serious charges that could put him away for decades. That's not just neglect. That's a conscious choice to prioritize other relationships over family. Bway Youngie, the brother left behind. Now let me tell you about Bway Youngie's situation, because this shorty is really going through it while his millionaire brother is living his best life. Bway is currently locked up in Texas facing some serious charges, and instead of having the best lawyers money can buy, he's stuck with a public defender trying to fight for his freedom. According to the streets and the paperwork that's been floating around, Bway is facing charges that could put him away for a long time. We're talking about the type of charges that require serious legal representation, the type of case where having a good lawyer could be the difference between coming home and spending decades behind bars. But here's what's really crazy. Youngboy spends more money on jewelry in a month than it would cost to get his brother proper legal representation. This dude will drop 6 figures on a chain without thinking twice. But his own blood brother is fighting for his life with a lawyer who's probably handling 50 other cases at the same time. The street's been talking about this situation for a while now, and people are starting to question Youngboy's loyalty. In the hood, family is supposed to come first. Blood is supposed to be thicker than water, but Youngboy seems to have forgotten that principle when it comes to his own brother. How Youngboy treats his friends versus his brother. Here's where it gets really crazy, and this is what's got the streets talking. Youngboy takes care of his friends better than he takes care of his own blood brother. We've seen him buy cars for his homies, put them on payroll, fly them around the country, make sure they're living good. But Bway is sitting in a cell with a public defender. Let me break down some of the ways Youngboy shows love to his circle. He's got people in his crew who don't even rap, don't even work, but they're still getting money from him just for being loyal. He's bought houses for friends, paid for their families, made sure their kids are straight. This dude treats his friends like family. But when it comes to his actual family, his blood brother who was there before any of these friends even knew who Youngboy was, he's nowhere to be found. Bway is facing serious time, and instead of getting the legal help he needs, he's stuck with whatever lawyer the state assigns him. The psychology behind this is wild. Sometimes when people make it big, they feel more loyalty to the people who were with them during their rise than to the people who were with them before they started rising. Youngboy's friends represent his success, his new life, his achievements, but Bway represents his past, his struggles, his old life that he's trying to leave behind. The street code, family first. In the streets, there's an unspoken code. Family comes first. Always. You can beef with your homies, you can fall out with your crew, you can cut off friends who violate, but family is supposed to be forever. Blood is supposed to mean something that goes deeper than any other relationship. Youngboy came from these same streets, lived by this same code when he was coming up, but success has a way of changing people's priorities, and it looks like Youngboy has forgotten the principles that the hood raised him on. The crazy part is, Youngboy raps about loyalty all the time. His music is full of references to keeping it real, staying true to the people who were there from the beginning, never forgetting where you came from. But his actions with Bway tell a different story. When people in Baton Rouge see Youngboy's success, they're proud of him for making it out. But when they see how he's treating his brother, it makes them question everything. If he can abandon his own blood, what does that say about his character? If he can leave his brother in the trenches, how loyal is he really? Bway's perspective, the abandoned brother. Now let me tell you what this situation looks like from Bway's perspective, because this shorty is probably going through it mentally. Imagine watching your brother become one of the biggest rappers in the world while you're sitting in a jail cell with a public defender. Bway probably remembers when they were both struggling, when they were both in the same boat, when Youngboy was just his big brother trying to make it in the rap game. Back then, they probably talked about how they were going to make it out together, how success was going to change both their lives. But now Youngboy is worth millions, and Bway is facing serious time with inadequate legal representation. That has to create some serious resentment, some serious feelings of abandonment. Your own brother has the resources to help you, but he's choosing not to. In that documentary footage, you can see the pain in Bway's eyes when he talks about his situation. He's not just dealing with legal troubles, he's dealing with the emotional trauma of being abandoned by the person who was supposed to have his back, no matter what. The psychological impact of this type of abandonment is deep. When your own family turns their back on you during your darkest moment, it changes something fundamental about how you see the world. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about loyalty and love. The legal reality. Public defender versus private attorney. Let me break down why having a public defender instead of a private attorney is such a big deal, especially when you're facing serious charges like Bway is. Public defenders are overworked, underpaid, and handling way too many cases to give each client the attention they deserve. A private attorney, especially one that costs the type of money Youngboy could afford, would be able to dedicate serious time and resources to Bway's case. We're talking about investigators, expert witnesses, the best legal strategies money can buy. That's the difference between coming home and spending decades in prison. Youngboy probably spends more on studio time in a month than it would cost to get Bway a top-tier legal team. But instead of investing in his brother's freedom, he's investing in everything else. Cars, jewelry, houses, taking care of friends who aren't even blood related. The streets see this, and they're taking notes. When you abandon your own blood for financial reasons that don't even make sense, because Youngboy definitely has the money to help, it says something about your character that people don't forget. The friends who get treated better than family. Here's what really gets me about this whole situation. Youngboy treats random people in his circle better than he treats his own brother. We've seen him put people on payroll who don't even contribute anything to his success. We've seen him buy cars for people who just hang around and provide entertainment. But his own blood brother, who was there before any of these people even knew Youngboy existed, is sitting in jail with a public defender. That's not just neglect. That's a conscious choice to prioritize other relationships over family. The psychology behind this is complex. Sometimes when people make it big, they feel like they owe more to the people who helped them during their rise than to the people who were there before they started rising. Youngboy's friends represent his success story, but Bway represents his past, his struggles, his old life. There's also this mentality where successful people sometimes think their family should be grateful just for the association. Like Youngboy might think, Bway benefits from being my brother, so I don't need to do anything extra for him. But that's not how family is supposed to work. The Baton Rouge perspective. How the hood sees it. The streets of Baton Rouge are watching this situation closely, and they're not impressed with how Youngboy is handling it. In the hood, abandoning your family is one of the worst things you can do. It goes against everything the streets taught them about loyalty and keeping it real. People who knew both brothers when they were coming up are seeing this situation and questioning Youngboy's character. They remember when Youngboy needed his brother, when they were both struggling, when family was all they had. Now that Youngboy made it, he's acting like his brother doesn't exist. The crazy part is, Youngboy's reputation in Baton Rouge is built on being real, being loyal, being true to where he came from. But how can you claim to be loyal to your city when you're not even loyal to your own blood? How can you rep Baton Rouge when you left your brother in the Baton Rouge trenches? This situation is creating a narrative that Youngboy might not be as real as he claims to be. If he can abandon his own brother, what does that say about his loyalty to anyone else? The streets are starting to question everything they thought they knew about his character. The psychological impact on Bway. Let me talk about what this abandonment is doing to Bway psychologically, because this type of betrayal from family cuts deeper than anything else. When your own brother, who has the resources to help you, chooses not to, it creates a type of pain that's hard to describe. Bway is probably dealing with feelings of abandonment, resentment, and confusion. He's probably wondering what he did wrong, why his brother doesn't care about him anymore, why success changed Youngboy so much that he forgot about family. The worst part is, Bway is probably still loyal to Youngboy despite being abandoned. That's how family love works. Even when someone hurts you, you still love them. So Bway is probably sitting in that cell, fighting serious charges with inadequate representation, and still hoping his brother will come through for him. But every day that passes without help, every court date that comes and goes with a public defender, every time he sees Youngboy spending money on everything except his legal defense, that's chipping away at whatever love and loyalty he has left. The business versus family mentality. Here's what I think is really happening with Youngboy's mindset. He started thinking like a businessman instead of thinking like a brother. In business, you invest in things that give you a return. You spend money on people who contribute to your success. You make calculated decisions based on what benefits you. But family isn't supposed to be a business decision. Family is supposed to be unconditional love and support, especially when someone is going through their darkest moment. Bway isn't supposed to have to earn his brother's help. He should get it automatically because they share blood. Youngboy has probably convinced himself that helping Bway would be a bad investment, or that Bway needs to learn to handle his own problems, or that getting involved in his brother's legal troubles could create problems for his own career. But those are business calculations, not family decisions. The tragedy is that Youngboy is applying business logic to a family relationship, and that's destroying the bond between him and his brother. Money and success have changed his perspective so much that he can't even see how wrong this situation is. The loyalty test. Who passes and who fails. This whole situation is like a loyalty test, and Youngboy is failing it badly. When someone you love is in trouble, when they need your help and you have the resources to provide it, that's when your true character gets revealed. And Youngboy's character is looking questionable right now. The people in Youngboy's circle who are getting taken care of, they're passing the loyalty test in his eyes because they're contributing to his success. They're making him feel good, they're part of his new life. But Bway is failing the test because he represents problems, legal troubles, connections to the old life that Youngboy is trying to leave behind. But here's what Youngboy doesn't understand. The real loyalty test isn't about who makes your life easier. The real loyalty test is about who you help when they can't do anything for you in return. And by that measure, Youngboy is failing his own brother. The streets understand this, even if Youngboy doesn't. That's why people are starting to question his loyalty, his realness, his connection to the principles that made him who he is. If you can't pass the loyalty test with your own blood, how can anyone trust you to be loyal to them? The ripple effects. How this affects Youngboy's reputation. This situation with Bway is starting to affect how people see Youngboy, and not in a good way. The streets are talking, social media is buzzing, and the narrative is starting to shift from Youngboy is loyal and real to Youngboy forgot where he came from. When you build your reputation on being authentic, on keeping it real, on staying true to your roots, abandoning your own brother creates a credibility problem. People start questioning everything else about your character. If you can lie to yourself about family loyalty, what else are you lying about? The crazy part is, this could have been avoided so easily. Youngboy could have quietly hired Bway, a good lawyer, could have made sure his brother had proper representation, could have shown family loyalty without making it a public thing. But instead, he chose to do nothing. And now, it's becoming a public embarrassment. This situation is also affecting how other artists and industry people see Youngboy. In hip-hop, family loyalty is respected. Taking care of your people is seen as a sign of success and character. But abandoning your brother makes you look selfish and fake. What this means for Youngboy's image. In street politics, how you treat your family is a reflection of how you'll treat everyone else. If Youngboy can abandon his own blood brother, what does that say about his loyalty to his friends, his crew, his city? The streets are starting to wonder if Youngboy's loyalty is conditional, if it only extends to people who can benefit him. This is dangerous territory for someone whose image is built on street credibility. The streets don't forgive fake loyalty, and they definitely don't forgive abandoning family. Youngboy might be rich and successful, but if the streets turn on him because of this situation, it could affect everything from his music to his business relationships. The worst part is, this situation is giving his enemies ammunition. People who already didn't like Youngboy now have a legitimate reason to question his character. They can point to how he treats his own brother as evidence that he's not as real as he claims to be. And in the streets, once your loyalty gets questioned, it's hard to get that credibility back. Youngboy might think this situation doesn't matter because he's successful, but street credibility is what built his career, and losing it could damage everything he's worked for. The psychological transformation, how success changed Youngboy. Let me break down what I think happened to Youngboy psychologically, because this type of transformation happens to a lot of people who make it out of poverty. When you go from having nothing to having everything, it changes your brain chemistry, your priorities, your entire worldview. Youngboy probably started seeing his old life, including his brother, as something that was holding him back. In his mind, Bway represents the streets, the violence, the legal troubles, all the things he's trying to escape. So instead of helping his brother escape too, he's distancing himself to protect his new life. There's also this psychological phenomenon where successful people start to believe they deserve their success more than other people deserve help. Youngboy might think, I worked hard for this money, so I shouldn't have to spend it on other people's problems. But that's not how family is supposed to work. The tragedy is that success has made Youngboy lose sight of the values that made him who he is. The loyalty, the family bonds, the street principles that he raps about. He's abandoned all of that in pursuit of protecting his new lifestyle. The comparison, other rappers who take care of family. What makes Youngboy's situation even worse is when you compare it to how other successful rappers handle family loyalty. Look at someone like Lil Baby. When his people get in trouble, he makes sure they have proper legal representation. When his family needs help, he provides it without question. Jay-Z, Drake, Future, most successful rappers understand that taking care of family is part of the responsibility that comes with success. They don't see it as a burden or a business decision. They see it as an obligation and an honor. But Youngboy is treating his brother like a stranger, like someone who doesn't deserve his help just because they share blood. That's not just cold. It's a violation of everything the streets taught them about family loyalty. The comparison makes Youngboy look even worse because it shows that other artists can maintain family loyalty while still being successful. It's not like helping Bway would bankrupt Youngboy or ruin his career. It would just be the right thing to do. The long-term consequences, what this means for the future. This situation with Bway is going to have long-term consequences for Youngboy, whether he realizes it or not. Family relationships that get damaged like this don't just heal automatically. The resentment, the abandonment, the betrayal, that stuff stays with people forever. Even if Youngboy eventually decides to help Bway, the damage might already be done. Bway is going to remember that his brother had the resources to help him but chose not to. He's going to remember fighting for his freedom with a public defender while his millionaire brother bought cars for friends. This situation is also going to affect how Youngboy's other family members see him. If he can abandon Bway, who's to say he won't abandon them too when they need help? Success without family loyalty is just expensive loneliness. The streets are going to remember this situation too. Even if Youngboy's career continues to be successful, people are going to remember how he treated his brother. And in hip-hop, your reputation follows you forever. The cost of forgetting family. At the end of the day, this story is about more than just Youngboy and Bway. It's about what happens when success makes you forget the people who were there before you made it. It's about how money can change your priorities so much that you abandon the values that made you who you are. Youngboy has everything he ever dreamed of. Money, fame, success, respect. But he's losing something that's more valuable than all of that. his family relationships. He's trading blood loyalty for business relationships, and that's a trade that never works out in the long run. Bway is sitting in a jail cell with a public defender, fighting for his freedom, while his millionaire brother spends money on everything except the one thing that could actually save his life. That's not just neglect. That's a betrayal of everything family is supposed to represent. The saddest part is that this situation could be fixed so easily. Youngboy could hire Bway, a good lawyer tomorrow, could show family loyalty, could prove that blood still means something to him. But every day that passes without action is another day that the relationship gets more damaged. For anyone watching this situation, the lesson is clear. Success means nothing if you abandon the people who were there before you had it. Money can't buy back family loyalty once you've thrown it away. And the streets never forget when you violate the code of putting family first. Youngboy might think he's protecting his new life by distancing himself from his brother's problems. But what he's really doing is destroying the foundation that his success was built on. The loyalty, the realness, the family bonds that made him who he is. That's the real story behind why Youngboy left his blood brother in the trenches, fam. It's not about money, it's not about business. It's about how success can change someone so much that they forget the most important thing of all. Family comes first, always. And when you forget that lesson, you lose more than just relationships. You lose your soul. Real recognize real, but fake gets exposed eventually. And right now, Youngboy's treatment of his own brother is exposing something about his character that the streets ain't gonna forget. No cap.